この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。
Welcome to the SushiBites Switch Summer Slam! Every week this August, we'll be taking a look at a Japanese Nintendo Switch game. And if you're watching the premiere, it'll be a complete surprise! If you missed it this time, join in the fun next week by coming to the premiere and hanging out as we look at another Japanese Nintendo Switch game together. This week's game, well, it's a real shocker that we haven't so much as received a date for its Western release. At least at the time of recording this, we haven't. You'd think, given the popularity of this series, we'd at least have some kind of ballpark date. Though to be fair, localizing a game of this size would take some time, before even taking into account how much of a spanner 2020 has thrown in the works. It's one of the most hotly awaited Nintendo Switch titles, and sold extremely well on its Japanese release back in February. It may be a spin-off, but in almost every way it's an authentic and genuine entry in this beloved RPG franchise. This week's game is... Persona 5 Scramble, The Phantom Strikers, is a crossover of Persona 5's JRPG, time management, and strategic combat with Koei Tecmo's long-running Dynasty Warriors or Musou gameplay. This game is predominantly a Persona title, but with the battles and dungeons replaced with the hack-and-slash goodness that Omega Force is known for. Worked into this tight, responsive hack-and-slash is Persona 5's combat mechanics. Jumping around onto scenery elements, casting skills, and all-out attacks are married into the fast-paced and brutal combat sequences. Quite frankly, this may be the best Dynasty Warriors spin-off I've ever played, and I can't even understand 80% of it thanks to the language barrier. If Persona 5 played like this, I probably would have stuck with it. Snooping around is tons of fun, and everything you know from playing Persona 5 is applicable. Taking cover, tactical use of your environment, it's all merged with the warrior's DNA. Battle tactics carry over too. Shooting an enemy to trigger a hold-up is just as effective as always, and type advantages with magic skills makes hammering bosses a breeze and a godly amount of fun to do. Collecting personas still takes up a considerable amount of the experience, with those skills available at any time now, without the need to switch out your base persona Arsene. Now it's all at your fingertips at any time, and it's a cinch to use. Presentation is flawless. The game looks and sounds exactly like a legitimate entry in the Persona series, with the characters completely on model. New enemies and characters completely look the part, and the game is packed full of high-quality, animated sequences, as well as plenty of freshly voiced dialogue and cutscenes. And this isn't your typical still image and voice-over style of cutscene we've seen again and again in these Musou-flavoured spin-offs. Instead, this game contains choreographed cutscenes that could have come straight out of Persona 5 itself. This is still at its core Persona 5. The game still features time management, character relationships, and efficient item usage. They even managed to fit the cell phone conversations in here. The confidant system is absent, but in its place is band, where the player can get a permanent increase to their stats by doing requests for their fellow phantom thieves. These are like achievements, activated when certain goals are reached, and they give you rewards that make you stronger. The Velvet Room gives you access to the Persona fusing features from Persona 5, with a choice of which basic skill the Persona will have to start off with. You can also spend points to quickly level up one of your existing Personas, making them stronger and unlocking new skills. The menus are extremely slick and stylish as always, with excessive amounts of animation and pizzazz. I think we can say with a great degree of certainty, no expense spared. The Japanese voice cast reprise their roles, and from what I can tell, everyone is here. As is typical of Omega Force's crossover titles, the soundtrack is a combination of familiar tunes and new compositions, with excellent use of electric guitars during intense battle scenes. Classic leitmotifs from Persona 5 are incorporated into this soundtrack, with memorable songs having been given new renditions. I could listen to the Persona 5 soundtrack all day, and Scramble is no exception. It's a gorgeous mishmash of old and new, with an expert level of composition. The more I play this, the harder it is for me to consider this as just some spin-off. I'd go as far as to say this is a bona fide sequel to Persona 5. The actual Persona 5 2. Because not only does this game build off Persona 5's gameplay in a fluent and fluid way, it also builds upon what the original has to offer in terms of story. From what I can gather, the game takes place a short time after the ending of Persona 5. The protagonist returns to Tokyo to catch up with his friends, the Phantom Thieves, for a barbecue and a good time. Too bad they're soon flung into a new string of metaverse mishaps when an idol named Alice transports the thieves to her own personal rift in time and space. Once again, the thieves find themselves on a quest to change the hearts of some truly awful people. The first target, Alice, is a particularly nasty piece of work. A hardcore sadist and blatant misandrist, she treats men like her toys and brainwashes them into servitude. I know, you could make a Twitch streamer joke here, but the thought slipped my mind. After investigating the target, it's time to enter their realm and give them the good old Phantom Thieves punishment. I did hit one brick wall while playing. While investigating the first target, I fumbled up and down the same street over and over again looking for the one person or object I needed to examine to make progress. Eventually I lucked out, but I spent about 15 minutes looking for that last thing to make progress in the game. Up and down the same street, back and forward, back and forward. I'm sure that in English I might have been able to figure it out quicker. Having to bound around looking for that one thing I need to examine in order to continue has always been the bane of gaming for me. I am absolutely excited at the prospect of this game leaving Japan and finally coming to the Western world, whenever that turns out to be. But one thing I do know for sure is that I won't be playing it on Switch. Now, it's not a performance issue at all. I think the game runs fine on Switch. Dare I say it runs almost impeccably. But we have to be real. The game is certainly being rendered with less detail. The resolution when docked is pretty good, but the internal rendering of 3D elements makes it feel like a Vita game blown up to fill my screen. The character models are aliased and jaggy, and some of the prominently featured textures on the environment or character models are grainy or low resolution. The PS4 version is a night and day comparison, with a higher graphical fidelity. However, what you gain in visual quality, you lose in the lack of the handheld play. With the game playing so well on Nintendo Switch, with little in the way of performance hiccups, I would say your choice of system should ultimately come down to that much coveted handheld play. I personally don't go for that except for rhythm games, so I'll be grabbing the PS4 version when it finally hits the West. So how's that for the SushiBites Summer Slam? I don't think any of the other episodes will cover games half as good as this one, but I thought I'd start off with a bang. Persona 5 Scramble, The Phantom Strikers, comes highly recommended, and with any luck, we'll hear about a concrete Western release soon. This has been SushiBites. Thanks for watching.